Welcome on back and welcome on back, everybody, to segment number one of Unpopular Opinion. Thank you guys so much for coming back with us. We're going to go into what we've been playing over these past couple of weeks. It's been a pretty heavy dose of games we've been going through. I do want to iterate and apologize firsthand. I did not get a chance to play Lords of the Fallen like I really wanted to. I haven't had the opportunity yet. I will hope to get to it this weekend. So that is coming up on the horizon. I do promise you that. But we did finish, like I promised, and like I was trying so hard to do. We did finish Liza P. So a review for that is coming up in this very episode. We did play Super Mario Wonder. We played the Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 collection, and we have been playing a pretty heavy dose of Amazing Spider-Man. I'll say Amazing Spider-Man, just Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. Now, let me first start off with talking about Super Mario Wonder. If you are a Nintendo and Mario fan of games like Super Mario Deluxe and the Mario Brothers and the 2D platformer, kind of like what they've been doing over the past number of years when it comes to Mario, with the exception of Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey was like the 3D Mario World. That was freaking amazing. Mario Wonder is actually really, really good. It fits right within that wheelhouse of Super Mario Deluxe. So if you are a fan of that particular game, you're gonna love Super Mario Wonder. It does offer some new additions, some new suits, some new powers. That Mario and his friends do get. So it does add a little bit more to the gameplay elements of it. But I mean, if you're not a fan of those type of games, or they just don't really quote unquote tickle your fancy, you're probably not going to really think too much of this when it comes to picking up games. Now, if you have a little one at home, or if you have one of the younger kids at home, and they're asking you about Mario Wonder for Christmas, because we do know now we're in the month of November. Halloween just finished. We are in the month of November now, which means it's about prime time for holiday shopping season. That does officially start. If your kids are asking you for this for Christmas, there is no reason not to get it to them. I promise you that it's a good game. They're going to like it. They're going to get plenty of hours of gameplay out of it. It just kind of depends on how many hours you want them to be playing. But they will get plenty of gameplay out of it. I do promise you that. It's a really, really solid game. It's a really good game. If you're a Mario fan, like I said, you will really, really enjoy it. I do like some of the new superpower moves, which they showed off in the trailer, especially early on, especially when they first announced it. I thought it was actually pretty well done. Graphically, it does look very, very good. I personally thought that they would have probably held on to this until the next Switch. And we got to start asking ourselves, could they have technically really held on to this until their next system? They possibly could, but I don't really see much in the way of graphical or gameplay updates you really could do between system and system. Now, I promise you that they're probably going to have a version of this game come out for the new, whatever their next system's going to be. Especially if it's like backwards compatible, which I'm hearing rumors is going to be backwards compatible. So, yeah, yes and no. Maybe could they have held on to this until the next iteration? Probably launched the next system with this title. They probably could, depending on how far along they are with that. But if what I'm hearing is to be true, I don't think they're too far off from announcing and then shipping their next system, which makes me wonder if they could have actually held on to this game until that launch to give the audience a Mario game to launch alongside with that system. Now, unless they got something planned for that next system as far as the library coming out, that remains to be seen. But I mean, it remains to be seen when the system's going to get announced anyway. So we have that to kind of look forward to. But again, if you're a Mario fan, if you like those, like the Mario Deluxe type of titles, the new Super Mario Brothers that came out like on the Wii and then the Wii U, this is another solid addition to go along with that. So you'll really, really enjoy it. Trust me, you will. The other game I played a really heavy dose of, and this is going to kind of tie into our segment number 2 of what really grinds my gears, is we played a really hefty amount of Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. And I got to say, I to me personally, I like the game. I really like it. I mean, I've been a fan of the first Spider-Man. I've been a fan of Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2 is no different. It I get some of the complaints about it, and again, we're gonna kind of talk about this a little bit deeper in segment number 2. I get some of the complaints about it. Do I think some of them are valid? Yeah, maybe some of them are valid, but not near the amount that it was getting. And again, I'm gonna save some of this for segment number 2, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail about it. But if you played Spider-Man 1, you played Miles Morales, you know what you're getting with Spider-Man 2. Gameplay is pretty identical. The world is pretty identical. I mean, they did kind of expand a little bit, but not near the amount that I thought they could have. But keep in mind, I am still pretty early on in the game. I'm only like 30% through. And when I say 30% through, I don't mean 30%, Nate, of the story mode, because my son blasted through the story mode of Spider-Man 2 and completed the game already. Has already beat it and everything, and it has only gotten 51% of the game completion, and that's just him blasting through the story. Didn't do much in the way of side missions, didn't do much in the way of side quests or anything that you can kind of do throughout the city. Me, I'm a completionist. So whatever's there and is available to me, I'm going to knock those out before I really go into the main story. So I'm really, really early on in the main story. There are a couple things with the main story I do not like. And when we kind of get closer to doing the review for this game, you're going to hear what some of those are. But there are some things with the story I just generally don't like. I don't like the origins of Venom, how he came to be. To me, I think they made like Kraven the Hunter. I think they made him more of like a side villain than the main villain, which is kind of sad because I thought that they were going to kind of go more towards Kraven being the main baddie, and they seemed like they tried to do it, but it was overshadowed with Venom. And that's why when they announced it, I was like, if they're going to have Kraven as the villain, I don't understand why you'd want to put Venom into that mix, because one's going to Venom's going to overshadow any villain that you have in the title beforehand. And they try to flesh it out to where it's a Kraven storyline that entangles Venom into it. And you can't do that. Venom needs almost his whole story with Spider-Man alone. No other side villains, no other story objectives. This has got to be a Spider-Man and Venom game where you kind of see the origins and how Venom came to be into Spider-Man's presence, and how they brought Venom in, like who they attached him to early on. I think did a major disservice to like hardcore Marvel or comic book fans. They changed some stuff around, and stuff that was not really too great. Um, they could have done possibly they could have done a lot more with it. I think they tried to throw it was one of those where they tried to throw too much into the pot and was expecting something to kind of come out of that pot that was going to be like something just explosive. And like again, the game is good. The game I love the game for what it does, but they turned. I'm trying to think of the best way to possibly say this without spoiling anything, because I don't want to spoil anything. But whom Venom is or comes to be in this game should not have been. They should have flushed other characters out more With this game, I think they brought Venom into this universe, the game universe. I think they brought Venom in too early. Now, fans have probably been clamoring for a Spider-Man and Venom game for quite a while. I get it. Venom's a very, very popular character. He's one of those that is just you want to see him in video game form. You want to you almost want to play as Venom. You want to see him as a character in the game. And you do. Trust me, you get plenty of Venom. But I think they brought him into this story far too early. And there's a couple other villains they could have done more with and done a bigger storyline with than what they did with Venom here. They tried to do too much. I think they kind of overreached a little bit in some elements of the story. I think they would have it probably would have done them more of a service if they kept with the Craven Hunter storyline throughout and not just made him feel like a side villain and told maybe snippets of the Venom story, not the full-fledged storyline of Venom, and then boom, into the universe. Here he is. They should have teased little bit by little bit with him, and then there's so many other things they could have done with other characters that are already established in that universe, other villains that are already established in that universe. There's things they could have done there that they didn't even touch on yet. And I think that's where the storyline in this game went a little bit wrong. It's a great game. If you played and you like the first two, you know what you're getting already with this one. Some people are arguing that this feels more of like another expansion pack of Spider-Man. I get the argument, but I think they maybe did just enough to where it feels more than an expansion pack. So I don't really fully 100% agree with the idea of this feels like an expansion pack. Again, we're going to touch on this in segment number 2, so just stay tuned, okay? But I think the only thing where they went wrong with this game was kind of like in the storyline, and I think that they probably tried to change too much. And I think they introduced Venom too early. Not so much like too early in the game storyline, but just in the universe storyline. They could have done that in like Spider-Man 3 or 4 later on down the line, because people are going to buy it. So it's going to open you up for more sequels of this game further on down the line. And you could have brought Venom in at any point through any of those. Especially in like a third or fourth game iteration. Especially if you want to do a storyline where you're teasing him as a character little bit by little bit. Just saying. I mean, they kind of did that with the movies, like with the Spider-Man universe. When Venom came to be, he's had two solo movies already, and there's only been small mentions of Spider-Man, and those have been like at the very end. So I think what they I think they bit off maybe a little bit more than they could chew when it came to the story of this, but. Is it a good game? Yes. Am I having fun with it? Yes. Have I played a buttload of it? Yes. It will be finished here probably roughly pretty soon. I don't think it's a very, very long game. It's a long game in the sense of a Spider-Man game, but it's like if you're looking at it from like how many hours I put into like Liza P and try to look at how long Spider-Man is going to be, they're going to do two different timelines of games. Okay. And I'm not going to touch on the Metal Gear Solid collection too much, just because I haven't done enough with that game yet to give you an honest opinion of it just yet. So I'm going to hold off on that one. And then of course the Liza P we finally finished. If you remember my comments from the last episode where I said it seemed like the game was getting better as you progressed, that still holds true even up to the ending. Is there a big kind of surprise at the ending? No, not really. You can kind of see it coming, the direction they went. If you were paying attention enough to the story as you were playing throughout, you kind of saw where they were going with it. and that's kind of where they went with it. I think they, and I'm gonna say this for the review portion of this too, so I don't want to go into too much detail about how I felt. I did feel like they kind of got trapped into the recycled boss formula that From Software has done before, actually done numerous times before, and I think they kind of fell into that trap because there's a couple bosses that you fight, and then you have to fight again later on, but like maybe like a different variation of that particular boss. He even has the same name, same type of general mood set, except there's just some added moves to his arsenal. So again, I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who have not played it all the way. But do I stick to my notions that this is probably one of the best From Software or one of the best Dark Souls formula type of games? Yes, I still think that holds true. This is probably one of the best ones out there. It follows more closely to Bloodborne, although like I said again, I'm going to save it for the review. But I do feel like it has a little bit of an identity crisis. Great game, fantastic game. I enjoyed it. I loved it, but I do feel it has a little bit of a identity crisis. All right, well, we're going to take us a small break. When we come back, we're going to get into segment number 2 of what really grinds my gears. So we will be right back.